Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Star Trek Panic is another game in the Panic line. This one is the first one to take an IP. Maybe the Munchkin one came out first, but the Star Trek Panic's definitely one with a very popular TV show motif to it. You're going to have some main difference between Castle Panic is that now you are in space. You still have the board setup that you're going to see with the lanes that you're going to see in both Dead Panic, Castle Panic, and this one. But in Star Trek, you're going to have individualized powers. Now you can be a person. Each person has a power. What's really going to sell this is the 3D Enterprise in the middle. That thing is really cool looking, and it looks great. It's going to kind of rotate and maneuver around the board. And you can even push forward if you want to make things come closer to you. So I like that ratchet movement of pulling things in closer. I think it really adds something to the experience, where Castle Panic is more of a vanilla. It's a very easy thing to teach. Dead Panic is a little bit more difficult, a little bit more rules heavy. Star Trek Panic might be the perfect balance of those. If you like the Star Trek universe, this is going to be a really cool experience for you. The Enterprise is there. You got the fighting. You got the characters. You got the missions. That's going to be a big inclusion. No more you trying to defend the tower. You still are. They're going to be attacking Enterprise, and you got to keep yourself alive for quite a while. But the missions, and there's a whole bunch of these that come through. You get to complete 5. You can fail some, but you do have to complete 5 of them before the game is up. And that really kind of shakes up how you're going to play at different things. It's not always just like kill people on the board. Sometimes you won't be able to kill. There's also some complexity of different kind of ships that are going to come out. There are a lot of different ones. Some that cloak, some that will activate other Klingons, some that will give defenses to other ships. And it really shakes things up. Now, I don't feel like the powers are balanced. I feel like definitely some of them are better than others. I think Chekhov is one that you really want to have. The +1 to the protons. I know every mission isn't about killing people, but you really need him for defense. If you like to play something like Spock, where you're checking out what threats are coming out, you can choose. Okay, I do like the one with Kirk, where you can gain extra cards. It's always helpful, but you have to have a mission that allows you to play cards. So that can be a little situational, although most missions allow you to play cards, and you can want Kirk playing that out. It's just different ones. I don't want to go through them all, but I feel like some are more useful than others. I think Chekhov is a must, at least when I'm playing. Somebody needs to be him to do the extra damage. I think that's really, really helpful. Star Trek Panic is a very good game. I think after Dead Panic, the name of the Panic series kind of went down a little bit, and Star Trek definitely would have elevated. I don't know if it sold well or not, but it seems like it should have been a bigger hit. I think the Star Trek IP works great in this universe. I like what they've done with this one as opposed to Dead Panic. I didn't like what they did as much with it. With Star Trek Panic, I think they did a fantastic job. I know that the Star Trek universe isn't all about just attacking and being attacked, and that's played out through the mission deck. Some of those will kind of be attacks, but not really. Most of them are about surviving or getting rid of the troubles or all kinds of things from different episodes of the show. But there is battling going on. Once again, it's a Panic game. So that's going to happen as you go through, and you're going to have to be defending yourself. But that happens a lot in Star Trek, too, more than like we like to kid ourselves that it does. So this one's a big win for me. I do like Star Trek Panic. It's a keeper for me. Here is Star Trek Panic, which is by Fireside Games, as you can tell. It's in the Castle Panic series here. You can have a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. Then you're going to have a board, and you're going to have an insert in here. That's fairly good. I really couldn't understand where you were supposed to put everything. So this will be a nice little bag. It does fit my hands in, which is nice. And these will be the little ships that you pull out, kind of like Castle Panic. These will be the little damage tokens and stuff that you'll have. So when you put damage on the ship, which is amazing, it's a 3D ship, you just kind of latch this on here. And you have some more of these. Now the ship, as you can tell, stays inside, so you can put this right on here. Now, these are acrylic, so these are really, really nice little shields that you'll have as you're going through. This thing looks phenomenal when it's on the table. This will be a little tracker. These are a little thin, but they're fine for what they are. And these will be the missions you can have. You can see they use stills from here, but there are a lot of missions in this game as you go through. I mean, there's plenty. You will not use all of these every game. You kind of mix them up and you randomize it. There's some that are easier, like this one's one of the ones you start out with. But there's quite a few in here, and I'm really glad to see that. Then you're going to get a deck of cards. These will be like little power-up cards that you'll have. This is where you'll hit things through. But the characters are going to have, you have Chekhov, Zulu, Kirk, Scott, McCoy, Spock, and Uhura. And then you'll have your player aids, if you will, as you go through. The cards are a little thin. It's a little disappointing. I wish they do feel great in the hand. I like the feel of them. This could have been a little thicker with some linen finish on them, I guess. But components are pretty good. This is nice. This fits in. It's great. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do with these circles and stuff. You saw how I kind of had it in there. Now let's take a look at the board. This is a tower defense game, and it's kind of weird that Star Trek is in a tower defense game. And I think that might have been one of the reasons why the game didn't do as well. But you do have the logo here. You do have some help on the side. We'll have some special rules. Then you have a tracker there, and this is how many missions you do. You have to complete 5 in order to win. So I think the components are pretty good. The board's it's space, right? It's black with white stars and stuff everywhere. It's okay. So here's the rule book. It's a nice little square. You're going to have the components here with a breakdown of what you're going to have. You're going to have a setup with a picture of it, but it doesn't have like, okay, this is where 3 is, this is 4, etc. I like that a lot. It has introductory missions if you want to start there. And this is the overview of the turn. You will also see that on the player aids, which is really, really nice. So it's a double whammy there. Then it'll break down each of the sections. You can see where it's pointing, it's telling you for more difficulty, etc. There's plenty of examples and pictures as you go through that kind of help explain the game. These are very, very helpful. These explanations were fantastic. They really knew what people would struggle with and decided to include that in there. The threats and how they move, you can see actually this is what the components are going to look like, and they're drawing so you can easily see with arrows pointing. Excellent. Really took a lot of care in that. How to win the game, etc. Then they'll explain some of the threat tokens that come out, etc. Some of the more complicated ones that come out kind of explain that. Very good job. I really liked it a lot. The component section and the setup where my main misses kind of explains things. And I would have liked the numbers and stuff corresponding to it, but it works just fine. So let me give a brief overview of the game. If you complete 5 missions, you will win the game. If all 6 sections of the hull, which is the inner part of the ship, is destroyed, you will lose the game. So first, before you take damage, you'll take damage on it. Take a second damage, the ship will come off, the shield will come off, and then if the hull were to take damage, you would simply put one of these damage tokens out on it, and then if it takes further damage, it can be destroyed. Here's the left rear, etc. And if all 6 spots are destroyed, you will lose. Now, as the game goes through, you'll have these missions that come up, and each of them will do something a little bit different. And this tells you how many turns it takes, or how many turns you have in order to beat it. It will tell you what cards you will need to give up to beat it, and the reward if you do so. Now, some of these may not give you any cards that you have to give up, although a lot of them do, as you can see across the bottom. Some of them are just pass-fail. You might have to do something in order to defeat it, but a lot of times you got to give up cards. And cards are kind of your breakaway. So here's a search and rescue one. So there's a ton of these, and you only have to beat 5 of them. So you'll fail some of them as you go on, and that's fine. You just want to make sure you don't take too much damage. So when the game starts out, you will choose a character. The characters each will have a unique power. For example, Kirk, whenever you play a card, in order to defeat a mission here, one of these, you'll be able to draw 2 additional cards. Check off, when you do a photo damage with a phaser, you do an additional damage. Each one will be a little bit unique. So what's going to happen on a turn is you're going to have this deck of cards. It'll be enterprise cards, and you'll always draw up to 5. And then if there's not a mission out, because you just completed one, then you will bring a new mission out. And sometimes they'll have setup, etc. that you will do. And then you can trade 1 card with any other player, because you're all on the enterprise, so it doesn't really matter location where you're going to be at. So I can trade a card with somebody else, and they may give me a card. And since it's a cooperative game, you'll be doing that to kind of set things up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple ships out here just to kind of show you some of the things that might happen during a turn with these ships out here. So, for example, this one says, hit 1 target at short range in front of where you're facing. So you're always facing this way with the arrow at the front of the Enterprise, and short would be here, medium would be in the middle, and long would be out here. So right now, I could not do anything with this card. Hit 1 target at long range, either facing. So there's nobody there, so I can't do that. But once per turn, I can maneuver. That means either move clockwise or counterclockwise, which is fine. And if I want to move closer to these guys, I can. 1 maneuver would just bring everybody closer. It doesn't affect anybody on the sides or the rear of the ship. Now that I've maneuvered, I could use this and hit 1 target in short range. So this guy has 2 damage on him, so he will just take 1 hit point and he is still there. If I had another card that would do the same thing, I would simply take him off the board and he would have been defeated. I also might have a card that would let me hit somebody in the medium range. If so, then this would take 1 damage, but I don't have additional card to defeat him. Let's see if I have any cards that will let me hit from the side. I do, but it says medium range. This guy's in long range, so I cannot hit him. So at that point, let's say I couldn't do anything. I would check to see if I completed the mission, if I were able to complete this mission. And this is simply giving up cards. So at the bottom here, it'll tell you players must commit one of these cards to the rigging. So on my turn, I could also give up a card that matches it. And I would simply kind of put it by the mission here, signifying that I've given up one of these and now we're closer to accomplishing the mission. When you accomplish the mission, you get the reward. This will go face up. Your tracker will go up, signifying that you've done 1 of the 5 missions, and then you would move on. At that point, each of these guys will move up 1 closer, and then they will attack. All the ships do 1 damage, unless they're a special ship, which I'll get to in a second. If this one here doesn't have any hits on it, it will simply take 1 damage. If the ship already has damage on it, then this simply will come off of it and come aside, and now it's easier for them to strike the hull in an additional turn. Then I will draw 2 threats from the bag. I'll do something like this, and then I would simply roll the dice and it would tell me where to put it. In this case, I'd put it 4, and I always put it on the highest one, the 2 damage, because that's what it has. Now, there are some special ones that might pop out like this. In this comet, you roll the dice to see where it's at. It says 5, and it's just going to come crashing through and do 2 damage. So normally it would do 1 hurt to it. It's going to actually destroy because it's going to do 2. That's what comets will do. They immediately come off the board. There are also some ships like this that do a little bit more damage and can attack using other people. And then you'll have other ones that might have events on them. You roll the dice and you do what it says. These are some of these that kind of do extra things and can change. These with the blue borders can cloak, which means they get cloaked over, and now you can't see them and can attack them. On the turn, they'll roll the dice, and maybe they might move over and then shoot you from the side. So this can be kind of terrible. You want to get rid of those early on. So there's different kinds of ships, different kinds of missions. You'll be moving around the board. You just kind of reset it. Next player will go. If you're able to complete 5 of these missions, once again, you'll be the winner of the game. If they destroy all 6 of your holes, then you are the loser of the game. Who should buy this game? I'll be honest, if you're wanting an introductory gateway Star Trek game, this will probably be one of the better ones that you can get. Now, there are people who I like Fleet Captains, but that's a 2-player game. It's kind of in depth. There's a lot going on, and that definitely is a better game if you ask me, but it also is a sizable investment in time and energy and wanting to learn. But this is going to be more of a gateway experience. Now, when I say gateway or introductory, it's definitely not the level of the original Castle Panic. This has a lot more complexity to it than your normal gateway games. I might even say this is a light to medium game and get away from the gateway terminology altogether. There's a little bit going on. Now, if you have somebody at the table who knows the game, then it's a gateway game. Everybody else around the table will be able to pick this up pretty quickly. I like this game a lot. On more replays, I ended up playing it over and over and over again and really enjoying it. This is what I'm going to highly recommend. If you're a Star Trek fan at all, check out Star Trek Panic. You'll like this one quite a bit.